have people from our community come in and talk to you. Today we have AJ the Barber Fort. He cuts hair down 69. He'll tell you more about himself. But I met AJ through baseball. Our kids play baseball together, and I watched him. He's a great father, and he pushes his son real hard. But I also have done some research on AJ the Barber, and I realized you are an author of a book.
Yes.
Yes. I've done my research. And when I was looking at your book, I realized that you could really pour into my kids. A lot of them come from similar places, so I don't want you to be nervous at all. It's just a sit and talk, and let's talk about life experiences and give them something that I pray that you guys hold on to and apply to your life. So let's welcome AJ the Barber with a hand clap, because that's the proper thing to do, people. Thank you.
Well, like she said, I'm a barber. Like I told y'all a while ago, that's what I am. I cut hair down on 69. I don't know if y'all familiar with it, but it's hair detail and style. They wash cars out front in the trailer. Anyway, guess I'll give y'all a runway on my way to becoming a barber. But that ain't always been what I was gonna do. Actually, I've been in these similar chairs growing up. I remember sitting in them chairs and looking at people talk and being like, I really wasn't worried about it because I wasn't gonna be that person that they thought I was gonna end up being. I remember like saying like, oh, I ain't gonna get locked up, I ain't gonna do none of that. I'm straighten up. And before you know it, I went from alternative schools to detention centers. And then at the detention centers, you know, it be people in there like, you better get yourself together or else you're gonna end up in prison. Well, I was like, I'm too smart for that. I ain't gonna end up in no prison. I'll stop before I do that. Well, long story short, I kept going. So I went from the detention center to DYS facilities, to Mount Meigs. I remember, it's funny, I remember when we got to Mount Meigs, the guard told her, he was like, look over there, that's y'all next step right there, prison. That's where y'all gonna go, if y'all don't straighten up right here, right now. And I was like, again in my head, like, I stopped before I can go to prison, I ain't even worried about that. But long story short, I graduated from there. I think I stopped going there. I think I got out when I was 18. By the end of 19, I was in prison. Again, I got there and seen a lot of guys that I like came up in these situations with, like some from like alternative school that I was in alternative school with, some that I was in like detention centers with, some when I was in boot camps, other DYS facilities, Mount Meg, like all of them was there. And it was funny to me because it was like a reunion. It was like a reunion, like, but someone was like, oh bro, I already been here, it's great. Like some still was just, they wasn't even thinking about changing still, they still was just getting in the groove of prison. Well, I was one of the ones that was thinking to myself, like, I'm gonna do my time, I'm gonna do my time, I'm gonna get out and whatever. Well, I got out, and I told myself, remember I keep telling myself that I'm too smart to come back twice. Guess what? I thought I changed this type of bad action to maybe selling dope. I'd do this and just stay out the way. Thought I'd just do that. Guess what? Fast forward, I wound up in prison twice. Again, doing everything I said I thought I was too smart to do. So I went to prison the second time and stuff started hitting me. You know, I was just like, I really got to do something different. I got to stop telling myself that I'm not gonna end up like this, or I gotta start telling myself I'm doing this because, you know, I'm always looking for an excuse, a reason behind everything that I've ever did. Like everything, like, oh, when I was younger, I broke in stuff, I stole because this is what I had to do. Because my mama didn't have much. She was a single mother. I ain't mean my father at 15, but that's another story. And I was just telling myself, these are my survival instincts. This is what I got to do. People don't know where I come from. This is what I got to do to survive. So eventually, like I said, I started selling dope, and I had kids, and guess what I'm telling myself? I started triggering myself, like, hey, you got to do this because you got to make sure your kids don't go through what you went through. You got to make sure that they don't need the shoes. They ain't got to wear one pair of shoes the whole year. They ain't got to go to Walmart and shop for clothes, and they can have the best of everything. That's what I used to tell myself. And so I was like, I just started selling, keep going, and eventually I got popped or whatever. And when they set me down, like I said, for the second time in prison, I had to start telling myself, like, hey, you gotta look in the mirror, you gotta start, like, you're not really doing any of this stuff for nobody but yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what you're doing because you want to look like something for everybody else around you. People that don't even really know you. Because guess what? My kids never asked me to do any of this. They never asked me to sell no drugs. They never asked me to break no law for them. But what they did want for me to be there. But guess what? I kept leaving and I wouldn't. Or when I was out there selling dope, I was always in the street. I get what I thought I did. Chose a good baby mama so she can raise me good while I still run the street. You know what I'm saying? Like I started putting my responsibilities off on her, on the slide. In a way, like I had to look in the mirror and really like face what it is that I was doing. You know what I'm saying? I was only doing so much of this stuff to really impress other people that in the long run I was no longer even around anymore, or people that didn't even know me. Like I was just doing all this stuff and messing my life up to impress people that didn't even really matter in my life. The people that really matter, I was just putting them on the back burner for real. So, you know, like I said, like I had to realize that everything that I was doing was for me. And that's when stuff started clicking, started making me face myself, face the lies that I was telling myself, stuff like that. And so long story short, I eventually started cutting hair. But here's the kicker. Started cutting hair really ain't that much money coming in at first, because no matter how popular you is, people don't really want you cutting their hair if they don't really know if you know how to cut or not. They don't care if you the homeboy or not, they don't care. So that was kind of slow. So I tried my old tricks again. And I had close encounters or whatever. That's when I had to make the decision, like, that I had to really like let this right here work for me. Like I really had to like put my all in this. Like I was putting my all into all the wrong stuff. Like I had to change the way I think, because the way I think was like a survival instinct, like the wrong thing, or it was always negative. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing never positive. So I started doing soul searching and started really try to change the way I actually really think. Cause that's where it really started. You have to start thinking positive. Like, but like I said, I keep saying long story short, but anyway, I ended up started cutting hair, and I started doing more positive thinking, positive action, because when you send positive energy out into the world, positive energy come back. But when you send negative energy out, that's what's all gonna come back. You keep wondering like why bad stuff keep happening, because you ain't doing them sending bad energy out. So you have to learn to start putting positive energy out there. Like, and be comfortable with just being normal. Like, I be realizing a lot of things is, a lot of today's society is everybody got to be so tough, so gangster, so emotionless. Like, you don't have to be like this. Like, you can just really just be normal. Just be a normal person. And if the people that when you're being normal, if the people that you're around don't accept normal, then maybe they're not the right people. So, anyway, that's what I do. I try to think more positive. So now, I cut hair with her. I'm always talking. It's so funny because, like, when the barber was telling me, he was like, man, hey, man, you need to talk to people. Like, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm too nervous with all that. Like, I was nervous coming up in here talking to y'all. I was all right. I pulled up outside. I was just sitting in the car for a minute. My nephew, he was just laughing at me because he didn't really see me nervous like that. I was nervous to come in here and talk to y'all. But I want y'all to know that this don't have to be like it. Like, this is just be like a stumbling block, and you can really get up and do something else, like, and end up being successful in your world. Like, I do a lot of talking with my nephew here now that I have him, because he was in a similar situation like y'all, and me and him talk a lot, and I always be trying to tell him about changing his mind thought. You know, it's a process. It you know, like everything. But I can see, you know what I'm saying, the more that he's around positive stuff, the more he start being more positive. So, and I say that to say, if the people you're around is just negative, maybe you need to get from around them and be around more positive people. Dr. Morgan said, like, I spend a lot of time with my son, and we do a lot of practicing in baseball and stuff like that. One of the things I wanted to do coming up that couldn't afford to do, so I don't know if I be trying to almost live my dream through him, and that ain't cool either, but that ain't cool either, but I do that too. But I enjoy the time that we spend together, the time that I always wanted from my dad. So that's what I want. I said that to say, like, be better than the people that's in your life. Be better than they would. Like, if you don't know your dad like that, or your dad not like being the type of dad that you would think a dad would be like, focus on growing up and becoming like a better person and be better at that. And I don't know exactly what else I want to talk to y'all about, but I guess I want to give y'all the floor a little bit and see if. What's up?
Wait, did you want to be anything else before you were a barber?
Before I was a barber, I didn't really want to be nothing else. To be honest, it was always my fallback game. Like, once everything started going, it was gonna be my fallback game, because I started cutting hair young. Started cutting my own, then I used to cut a couple friends' head. So I always thought that I end up cutting hair. I ain't think I was gonna get lucky enough to actually just be this successful in it, but I am. Cause like he said, I kept putting the work in. But that wasn't what I always wanted to be. Yeah.
So as a child, often when we ask them, even in high school, what you want to be, they say they want to be a basketball or football player. They want to go to the NBA or the NFL. Mm-hmm. But again, we don't play on a school team, or we're not active at school.
You're not doing none of the things that's leading into that direction. Everything you're doing is going the opposite of the direction. Like, yeah.
So what advice would you give them to find like something that they're good at? So more than likely that plan ain't gonna shake out. Mm-hmm. So I know you said you started cutting hair when you were younger, and that's the only route you really focused on because you knew you could do that. How did you decide? What was your defining moment? Like, this is what I'm gonna do, and helping them find something that they're good at so that they can do it. I know that's a lot.
Yeah. It was my comfort zone too. I think it's good to figure out like what it is you actually good at doing that you don't think probably like mean nothing or nothing like that. Like find what you're really good at and then start putting the work in toward that area. Like she said, like being a famous basketball player, football, that's a real, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a dream that can be reached, but it's a real far-fetched dream though, like, because the kids that actually end up there, they're not really going through a lot of this right here. They're like on the right path. They're in regular school doing great on schoolwork and on their report cards, and they're behaving right because guess what? Colleges don't even want no troublemaker. So, and college is one of the places you got to go to before you get there. Unless you just super good, all of us ain't super good. We need practice. So, yeah, you got to be doing the right thing to even be going in that direction. You can't just be telling yourself you want to be this, but in reality you're not doing nothing that even seems like you want to do this. Like I tell him, like he say he want to be back on the football team. So I tell him we got to start slow. You got to put the work in. So he go to the gym with me every morning because he's in homeschooling. So, but he go to the gym with me every morning and try to get in better shape. Try to eat a little better. Think more positive, because all that plays a part in becoming this big baseball player, football player, basketball player that you may want to be in life. Like, it's not just being good at something. It's all the other aspects around it. Like, you have to really be determined. You have to really be determined. So don't be one of them people that just always just saying what they think people want to hear. Cause we do that a lot too. Just saying what we think people want to hear, so cause it sounds good, they might give you a pat on the back for it. Like, start saying stuff and doing stuff that you can stand on. Like, that part of being real too. Doing something you can stand 10 on, that's positive. Friend that I came up with, we do everything together. He went through all the similar stuff too. He didn't make it back from prison. We had to bury him. I made it back. Everybody don't make it back. So don't think that you'll just go there and be so tough that you'll make it back. Because guess what? He was that tough. Guess what? He still didn't make it back. I want y'all to remember that too.
All right, thank you.